like to call to order
Ace was closed.
the Common Council meeting for July 15th, 2013. Can we stand for invocation, please?
Bow our heads. Dear God, we thank you for this day. Thank you, God, how you continue to bless us and keep us. We thank you, God, how you have continued to bless our city, bless our officials. We ask you to be with this council tonight, Father. Be with them, be with their families. Continue to give them strength, give them what they need to do this job that they have been called to do. Help them to understand the responsibility and accountability, and help us to understand they're human. They make mistakes. They don't get everything always right, but we know their hearts are in the right place, and they're going to do the best they can. So help us also to be good supporters and good community members to also support them in the things they're trying to do. We ask you to be with all of our staff, be with our mayor, be with all of our staff members of the city, be with our first responders, and be with our state and our country. Continue to watch over us, continue to help us to be the people you would have us to be, and also just be with our community. Help us to continue to work together to be one. Help us to understand we don't always have to agree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. This prayer we ask in the name of the Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilperson Smith.
Present.
Councilperson Sostovny.
Present.
Councilperson Payne.
Here.
Councilperson Gill.
Here.
Councilperson Glover.
Here.
Council President Sellers.
Here.
Council Vice President Julius.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record show that Councilperson Owen is absent.
Approval of the agenda.
I have one item removed under B1, is the Public Arts Commission. That'll be on at a later time, but all our members couldn't be here, so we decided to pull it.
Okay.
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the removal of the Public Arts Commission. Any other questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Minutes to be approved.
Motion to approve as presented. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of July 1st, 2013 as presented. Any other questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Claims to be approved.
Requesting approval of general claims in the amount of $683,276.92.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims in the amount of $683,276.92. Any other questions or comments?
I'm abstaining.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Parks claims.
Requesting approval of $35,270.93.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve pre-approve the parks claims in the amount of $35,270.93.
I'm abstaining again.
Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Report of the clerk.
I just have one quick thing. I've talked to several of the council members. I'm going to make a change in my staff downstairs here in the court. What I want to do is change Jamie Miller's title to second deputy. She'll continue doing the same responsibilities. There's no change in her salary. We're not requesting any change in that. Same pay grade, same exempt status. It's just a title change. And that way to help us more in the supervision of it. So I just wanted to give you all an update.
Is that a change in pay grade?
No,
No. You said not a pay, but pay
no,
grade?
no,
Okay.
nothing. Mm-mm.
Do we need a motion for that,
Yeah.
Scott?
Yeah, I think you would need a motion if you're going to change the title.
What's her last name?
Miller?
I'd make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
Do we have to amend the salary ordinance for that?
Well, I mean, you're not changing the salary, right?
No.
Probably
No.
the
Title.
position, rolling. I think it would be best to amend that.
Yeah, I mean, the salaries ordinance is on here anyway.
Yes, I mean,
We can just add
a
it.
motion with understanding that the title will be amended in the ordinance.
Okay.
Change in salary.
Have a motion and a second for the title change for Jamie Miller under the clerk's staff, with the understanding that the title will be changed in the salary ordinance. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Unfinished business, Mr. Lewis?
Can we go to department heads? I know that, excuse
Oh.
me, Scott. I sent everybody, Eric Hedrick is not here tonight, but I sent an email out last week on Cardinal Ice, the ice maker. Everybody get that?
Yes.
I know this was almost a month ago. I think we need to either approve this or tell them we're not going to do it. You know, I've gotten the best price we can do for their ice maker. It's about $1,300 less than what they had originally asked for. I think theirs was $39, this is $25.80.18. So I just, we can vote on it.
Did he, I didn't,
He responded back, said this
no,
looks...
but, I mean, does he have it in his budget, or he wants to go outside his budget?
You know, Mike, I don't know. We talked about this when he brought it up I guess it was 2 meetings ago. And I finally got the people to give us a quote, you know, on a unit.
If I'm
But,
not mistaken, I thought we were talking about paying for all that out of Lloyd, because he had like a
thought
package
we
deal
were
of
too.
things that he wanted to do.
He had the air
And
conditioning.
we took this
We
out.
took that, we had the sealing of the
Right.
drive, of the parking lot. There was a multitude of things that were
And
going
then
to
the
be
air
under Lloyd.
conditioning that
Yeah.
we...
And Dennis's quote's a whole lot lower than what,
That was $1,300. The guy's really giving a good deal. It's Cardinal Ice over in Louisville, and it's coming through Serv-End. It's a local company.
Company.
So I don't know how we would need to move forward on this, whether we'd need a vote, but I would assume we
If
would.
you move forward, yeah.
Yeah.
If he
I mean, what do you guys
If
want
he
to do?
doesn't take it out of his budget, we'll have to, we'll have to add, I guess, go through Amy, and depending on where we want to take it from.
I'm like you though, Brian. I think we talked about Lloyd
Mm-hmm.
when we were talking about these expenditures.
Do we need to
Advertise?
Appropriated in Lloyd, I might just have to transfer it to capital, but it's there.
Okay.
So you saying it hasn't been appropriated, it has to be appropriated? Or you do have it appropriated in the capital?
There's an appropriation in the 300 series of work, I would just have to transfer it to the 400.
What was the reasoning for this ice machine? He said it
They
was-
had an ice machine go bad.
Right,
And
well, no,
like
I
when
know
they
that.
have storms, people come in there and get ice.
Would it be cheaper for us to buy a bunch of bags of ice when there's a storm?
Oh, man, I don't think so.
Well, not only do they use
But
it for
they-
storms, they use it for calls. If they're out for a call, they're going to be out
House
6, 7,
fires.
8 hours for a house fire. That's what they use
They
for
use it
water,
every day.
any training.
Yeah.
They've got an ice machine at every house, I
Say
think.
that he has money in his 300 series
In Lloyd.
in
Lloyd.
And
What
actually,
was
the
the
the ice
capital?
machine they have now was given to them. It was one given to them from one of the local hotels, so.
It's at
Right.
the fire department, it's
Each truck has one, because they don't know when
Somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve that, whatever that dollar amount is, and we'll just take it out.
258018.
2588. Does that include installation, or do you know?
He's gonna bring it over, but it literally sits on top of the unit, plug it in, put your,
Okay. so
it's
that's-
just a piece of
that's-
cake.
Okay, it's just kind of a turnkey deal?
Yep.
I'll second.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to approve the amount of, I can't read,
258018.
out of Lloyd. Any other questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Okay, now, Mr. Lewis?
I wish they was all 2,500 there, 2.5 million. 150,000.
Okay, is this a new one?
This was the proposed ordinance number 2013 OR 8 that was introduced and passed at the first reading last time, at our last meeting. And what we discussed at that time, a couple minor changes that I'm just passing out, compared to the one that's in your packet, we talked about on paragraph 4, we talked about a $50 per day limit. We also added that's $50 per person per day. So that was added. And then on paragraph 5, when we talked about how the credit cards that would be lent out to the different department heads, that they would be returned. The original language that we passed on the first reading was 24 hours, but we asked that to be changed to 72 hours, that after the use of the card or after someone returns in from an out-of-town trip, that the card would be returned within 72 hours. So that was added. And then one other thing that just came up Friday, and that's why this changes did not get in your packet, that there was State Board of Accounts that said there needed to be a statement that would address bonus points. So this just came to my attention on Friday about the bonus points. So the place where I just added that was at the end of paragraph 4. This was a proposed simple statement that any accumulated bonus points for the use of any credit card shall stay with and shall be used by the particular departmental credit card that accumulated the said bonus points. So I mean, what that statement means is that, whatever department, if it's one of the public safety credit cards that's accumulated those bonus points, that we would not transfer the bonus points to another card of the city, that it would stay with that card that accumulated the bonus points.
And we already do that, but it needs to be clarified in our ordinance according to Chris from the State
Yeah,
Board of
according to
Accounts.
Chris from State Board of Accounts, he said that was not in this proposed ordinance, so we had to put that statement in. That's the consistent to what we do right now regarding bonus points. So like I said, the only changes that at this time from the first reading to what's presented tonight for a second reading was the adding the word per person on paragraph 4 regarding the $50 per day limit, and then at the end of paragraph 4 adding the clause about the bonus points, and then also in paragraph 5 regarding 72 hours instead of 24 hours. So it's your all's decision whether you want to discuss this further, only pass it for a second reading, come back for a third, if there's more time that you all would like to have to digest this or discuss it.
Well, I've spoken with like the street department, Mr. Vissing, we had a meeting with Ann, and Ann had some questions, but she's okay with it now, and
All the department heads are, so we answered all their questions and they seem fine with it.
You want to do 2 readings? Get it done?
The only question I have on this is I read through this and I didn't see anything that addressed if we have multiple people go to training. There would be one card assigned to that group, correct?
no, they can use...
Potentially, I mean, the way this was discussed, potentially, like, I think most of the training would be public safety. So you have 4 cards for public safety use, but then there's 3 cards for the controller, which in parentheses for use by various city departments. So there could be the opportunity for other cards to be used.
Perfect. So we're not going to make one person in charge of 5 people's expenses. That's what I was
No.
concerned about.
Right.
Okay. Perfect.
I mean, so it does offer some flexibility. Yeah.
Ms. Deering, is there any concerns or issues? Are you comfortable with what you see here? You understand it? And
I understand it, and my concern is just if someone wants to use it immediately and we can't get them a PO, the time will be causing delays of that nature. Other than that,
You can't get them a PO because our new system won't be up and running, or?
just, if, we're on a deadline for something else or something of that nature. But the new system will allow for the departments to put a PO request in, and then it goes through approval electronically. So I think that will make it easy.
So there's nothing in here in the case of that emergency that allows you to make a judgment call as a controller that will allow them to go ahead and make a purchase without having a PO?
There's nothing that prevents them from making a purchase.
That allows you
Oh,
to give them the authority to do that?
right.
when you talk about a PO, is a PO system, is it a black and white system, or is it whatever Jeffersonville? Could we come up with like a JFD for the fire department, 01, 02, 03? What is exactly, how will that be with our new system? How will that be, I guess, categorized or?
Right now, it's just, chronological order, so, it's just a number of numeric field, it's not.
Okay,
I don't know about the new system.
okay.
So going back to my question, I mean, so it's causing you concern that if we can't generate a PO fast enough, we're kind of in a bind?
A little bit, and I don't want, it would probably be my accounts payable clerk who would be issuing them, and I don't want him to feel like he has to on the fly make a decision if this purchase is, within the guidelines.
So what's the answer?
He explained to me that it's up to the department that is ordering. If it's not within what you want to expend, that they would be liable.
Yes, it still falls on the department heads that's in here. So they just issue the PO number, and then if it's not a legal claim, then that person, whoever used the car, is responsible for paying it.
But I guess in that situation, they're going to be looking at buying something that's, we're not going to get into an illegal claim. We're going to get into something that's needed in an emergency. And what your concern is if we can't generate a PO fast enough, then we're kind of stuck, right? I'm trying to figure out what the solution is. I see the problem, I'm trying to figure out what the solution is.
Well, since he's not responsible for looking at the claims anyway and just issuing the number, what would be the problem?
I guess there wouldn't be one. We could provide the PO after the purchase were made.
When it comes back to you?
If it's on a weekend or something, somebody's out of town, we're not there to give them the PO.
Well, if they're out of town, I'm assuming that would be travel, and that should be covered under the travel thing that they've already filled out.
Don't you think, Amy, and I think with our discussions at some point, because I think Brian has a good question, but at some point, we know we're going to have a few bumps along the way.
Right.
We're going from an old system to a new system, and even with the new system, nothing's perfect. And I think his question, I'm saying that if for some reason somebody had to buy something emergency, if they come, you can give them a PO afterwards. At least that would follow the process, and so they can purchase what they need. And that will get us over that transition until we get our new system up and running, maybe? No.
I don't think you're going to either.
Well, and I agree, but I guess my question would be, who does that authority need to come from? I mean, are we as a council allowing Amy to make that call?
Yes.
I mean, that's all I'm looking for.
Well, but ultimately, Brian, the decision of the purchase goes to the person holding the card, and if it's a frivolous purchase, they're going to have to pay for it.
And that's already stayed in here.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, if it's a legitimate purpose and
then you really don't have a problem. If it's a legitimate person and they say they can create the purchase order afterwards, it's not a problem. I don't think.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm just checking.
but I think it's a very founded question. We're going to have more of those. Agree.
Like any change, it's going to have a few bumps, and I get that, and I think Ann, when she showed up, she had some questions, and we had some answers, but it was still a process, and after several months, when it gets settled down, it'd be like anything else, it'd be second nature.
Well, then the important thing is we're in line with State Board of Accounts, and that's where this all was coming from.
That is
Correct,
correct.
correct.
Yeah, a lot of this is their own guidelines and recommendations for us to reduce the number of cards and to include guidelines that are included in the State Board of Account guidelines.
I'll just make a motion to pass 2013 OR 8 on the second and third reading.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to pass ordinance 2013 OR 8 on the second and third reading. Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I'm passing this around, don't forget to sign it.
I know, I forgot to sign it. Mr. Merkley.
Ordinance that was introduced at the prior meeting and was adopted on first reading This is to reestablish the CUMCAP Development Fund, which has been in place with the city for many, many years. Department of Local Government Finance is requiring that we reestablish this if we are going to continue to receive that funding for next year. The ordinance sets out the same rate that has been in effect for these years dating back to 1987, and it's not to exceed .05 per $100 of assessed valuation. We don't even come close to that. I think the actual rate that has been established in the last couple of years is more like .01. Yeah, so we don't even come close to that. But and this is by statute. This is a public hearing. It was noticed in the Evening News or the News and Tribune on 2 prior days for this meeting. So we open up for public hearing prior to.
We're now open for a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this? No? Last chance? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Make a motion to approve 2013 OR 20 on the second and third readings.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to pass 2013 OR 20 on the second and third readings. Any other questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Deering.
Requesting approval of 2013 OR 21. This is an ordinance of additional appropriation that's passed on the first and second reading at the last meeting.
And nothing's changed, Amy? Make a motion to pass ordinance 2013 OR 21, third and final reading.
Second.
Have a motion and second to pass 2013 OR 21 on the third and final reading. Any other questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Julius, 10th Street study, new business.
Yeah, we have discussed and beat to death the 10th Street project, which I think we all are in favor of. We all think that we need to move forward with it and so forth. One thing that concerns me about it a little bit, I go to the 10th Street Merchants Association every month and have joined. I'm a member. And y'all don't have to tell me my business is not on 10th Street, but it doesn't have to be on 10th Street to be a member. But I have heard from more people than just the merchants that they can't wait for 10th Street to be done for all the new business to come in. And that is so far from the reality of what's going to happen there that I wanted to bring that up to you guys and see if, and we don't have to do it right now, but I think we need to consider before the end of that project or in the middle of the project, doing some sort of comprehensive study to see what it is going to take to generate business on 10th Street, and if that's possible. I know I look at Clarksville, and we've looked at Eastern Boulevard, and they spent a ton of money, and it really has not encouraged much new business, if any. I know that I've spoken with Miguel a couple times. Miguel is in favor of this. I just wanted to open some dialogue up. I wanted to open some
Dennis,
conversation.
who's Miguel?
Miguel Hampton.
Miguel
He's on the
Hampton.
UEZ. And
Oh, okay.
Les, I have a question. Wouldn't that be redevelopment? And I know that's one thing that was brought up at the meeting that we had together, because I remember saying we needed a study, because Miguel was at that meeting, and
Yep.
and Mike and I talked to him about that previously, the same thing, is that there needs to be some kind of economic impact study or some kind of plan to draw businesses into that area, because a new road's not going to do it.
It won't, and it might be something that we could send to redevelopment to say, this is something we think is going to be needed to be part of this project. And I think it's been such a quagmire. I think it shows our good faith from the council that, hey, we're behind this project and we want to see it succeed. This might be a tool that needs to be performed in this process, not just building the road, but going a step further.
Yeah, about the first 8 or 10 blocks is in the UEZ. So, I mean, the UEZ could split the cost with redevelopment. I mean, I don't know what the study would be, but I'm saying the first 8 or 10 blocks is in UEZ, so it could be a joint venture between the two, I think would work.
Mike, it might be something you bring up at UEZ, simple as that, and then take it from there and see if somebody can't take it to redevelopment and see if we can't get some collaboration on it. But I've heard that said by so many people at the meetings, and that is as far from what's going to happen as you.
We hope it's the opposite, but you never know.
Reality is.
I know.
Why don't we draft a letter to the president of each of those organizations asking them to do a study before they make a significant investment?
Yeah.
Just to see what the return on that investment would be, what kind of
Is that
businesses
something
would
you
come.
can do? You would love to?
Maybe get
Scott
Scott.
could do it.
Let's get Scott to do it.
Scott could do it.
Yeah, there's going to be a letter on behalf of the council.
Okay.
Right.
UEZ and
spell.
See how easy you got all that?
Yeah, I just don't problem.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's real good.
I don't even know what the cost would be. Everything's $100,000 per
Yeah,
million.
that's right.
Well, I just think it'd be, and we can
Just
move
kinda-
on, but I think
some
it's,
kind of financial impact study of,
yeah. We've
kinda
got,
understand, Scott.
we've got sign ordinances.
Send me a follow-up email, Dennis, like
I will.
specific groups, well, just a little more.
I can do that.
We probably need a motion in a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would enjoy it. I'm gonna have to come back to the next
Your
meeting.
win, lose, or draw.
for approval.
Yeah.
Do that
I mean,
then.
if that's
Yeah.
the intent.
Yeah, that's the, that's what I think, yeah, could at least formalize the process and get them a letter and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I won't send it back without coming back for draws.
I'll send you something. Good.
Okay.
That'd be
So
great.
in all your meetings, you're hearing that this is going to spur economic development along 10th Street?
The end-all, be-all. And it's not everybody, but there's a lot of them. And, you talk to them and you go, that's not true. And it's not only the 10th Street Business Association, and I'm not saying it's all of them, but it's some of them. And it's some of them, they just can't wait because they know that their business is going to do that much better. And it's just not going to work like that. It's just not. So,
Do we need a motion to have a letter drafted by our attorney to send to the UEZ and redevelopment to request a
I
study?
mean, you can do that, or you can just, because you're not approving the letter yet. I think
Okay.
you have to bring it back for your approval. So
Okay.
I don't think you really need a motion.
Okay.
Well, can we go ahead and approve it? That way you can go ahead and send it via email, and we can take care of it and get it sent up before our next council meeting?
Okay, I didn't know if you all wanted to have it brought back or not. I didn't.
do you want to review it, is what he's saying before
Well, I'm saying he
sends
can
it?
We can do by
email
email.
it to us, and we
That's
can
okay.
review it.
We could do
And
that.
then that way everyone can put in their 2 cents, you know what I'm saying? No, you don't want to do it
No,
that way?
I'm saying that you can't do it that way, but I think if you're going to approve a letter, you actually have to see it before you approve it.
Okay.
It's one thing when there's a
We can't do it
contract
contingent?
that's
Okay.
presented and you say, well, upon the review.
I think we got time.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no
All
hurry,
right.
right?
Yeah, we got time.
Okay.
Okay, all right,
Okay,
Okay.
all right,
great, thank you.
okay. Mr. Glover?
Yes, I sent this to you all, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, asking for your feedback on the improvements to the entrance of Crystal Springs, and I have to thank Terry Hicks, who's here tonight. She's been the most patient lady that I've met since I've been on the council, but the improvements needed at the intersection of New Chapel Road and Crystal Springs Boulevard is basically, you have a wide open intersection with really no defined space to stop. It's basically a kind of what I would call a yield intersection, where you look and see nobody else coming on and you kind of roll through. And Ms. Hicks brought it to me and said if we could add another island here towards the end, that you would force people to stop and actually make left-hand turns leaving the intersection. So what she has graciously done has went to Dan Christiani and said if the city would be willing to come in and put the curbing there and create the island, Dan would go in and beautify that island. He would landscape it and all that good stuff. So I spoke with Andy, and he estimated that we would probably go in and have to tear up the asphalt. We would contract somebody out to do the curbing. He estimated roughly about $5,000. I'm asking tonight that amount not be be approved up to but not to exceed $7,500 to give us some leeway in the curbing. And all I'm asking for you all is to approve some money, $7,500 to be taken out of EDIT, the Common Council Capital Fund, correct, Amy? And there's already been $250,000 appropriated, so it's just a matter of you all approving this, and we can get moving forward with Crystal Springs.
Just a quick question. You mentioned Andy. So Andy is in support that this would be an improvement and a benefit and make it safer and all that?
Yes, we've looked at it, and we've actually talked to some police officers that patrol the area and say there's getting to be enough congestion there with not only vehicular traffic but with pedestrian traffic that we've got to define that area a little bit better than what it's done now.
And to add to that, Brian has brought it up multiple times in Board of Public Works.
And Terry knows this, this has been going on for probably about a year. She's brought it to me, and I've told her, let us get through the budget process and let everybody kind of calm down, and then I'll bring it before the council. But Amy's assured me that the money is there, and again, she's been extremely patient with me, and it's time to move
Brian,
forward.
has the city, has the developer dedicated the streets to the city in that subdivision?
As far as I know, they're named, yes.
Well, but I mean, at some point when they're like 80% done, 75% done, I don't know what it is, they dedicate those, and the city takes care of snow removal and so forth. So I was curious as to how far along, and we have done that.
I can't answer
I see a
that,
head nodding.
but Terry's emphatically saying yes.
Yeah, as long as that's been done.
And we can check with Andy to make sure. I will.
If we're out there, then they're out there.
Brian, do they have a homeowners association?
Yes.
And that they voted in
Terry
favor of
is
this?
Yeah, she's the president.
Has the homeowners association voted in support of this?
Yes, Andy actually gave us drawings of what, like, choices to choose. We took it to the neighborhood meeting, we allowed them to choose. Everybody's in favor of this.
This started off with moving stop signs, with actually adding a roundabout. We looked at everything we possibly could, and then I know you like roundabouts, but we had fountains and all that. But anyway, we decided that a island with a fountain in the middle, no, just an island would be sufficient, and it would stick with what they have now. It wouldn't change the landscape of their area.
Jorge doesn't like roundabouts.
So.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the island in Crystal Springs not to exceed $7,500. Are there any other questions or comments?
Just for clarity's sake, just real quick, since you said that there's something that Christiani's agreed to do in the motion, I would like to be clear
With-
what we're agreeing to do in the motion and what we're not doing as far as...
Okay, the city,
There's no confusion between us and Christiani.
The city will be tearing up the asphalt and adding the curbing.
And Mr. Christiani is going to be doing the landscape and the beautification.
And not to exceed 7,500.
Right, I already said that.
Good.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Mr. Lewis, regulating solicitation, peddling, and transit merchants, and I believe that the gentleman's here from Schwann's, and that was just to clarify that, I think we were looking at section...
Yeah, if I may, because I think there was confusion. We didn't have this
Right.
in full before us last time. And I think the good news, at least for Schwann, in my interpretation, I spoke with Les, and I think you all may have had a chance to look at this, in the ordinance number 2013 OR6, or excuse me, that was the amendment on it's actually ordinance number 2012 OR36, which is in your packet. If you come down there, it would be on page 2 of that ordinance. It would be paragraph 7, subparagraph I. Paragraph 7 has exceptions to the definitions. So the exceptions are certain type of entities and persons that are excluded from this particular door-to-door ordinance. If you look at subparagraph 7I, it says any person who makes initial contacts with other people for the purpose of establishing or trying to establish a regular customer delivery route of perishable food and dairy products, or any person making deliveries of perishable food and dairy products to the customers on his or her established delivery route. So my interpretation, now this was drafted by Tom Lau, but I think mine, and Les, you can speak up if you disagree, but I think our interpretation is that clause, that paragraph there, excludes Schwann from this.
Well, because I worked hand-in-hand with Tom Lau, and we specifically had Schwann, because I said, I got the Schwann man that comes through my neighborhood, so we specifically put that in there to protect the Schwann man.
Well, not particularly Schwann.
Right, we did.
That classification,
Or lady.
that classification of just...
That classification.
Yeah,
but
you can't
that's
single out
the reason
different
why,
businesses.
because I said he comes from our neighborhood.
I love it. But therefore, there's the answer to Schwan, that he's excluded.
We protected you. You know I'm not right.
You know I'm not right.
Connie, I have a question. Was it addressed at all with the fee? Is it per company, per individual?
I don't know, because he's excluded, so.
I don't think
He's excluded. They're excluded.
Okay,
They're
so they don't even have to get
No.
a permit?
No, they're excluded.
No, they're excluded.
Thank you.
From doing it. They're all exceptions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that, there were exceptions, and I realized.
Actually, right. Okay, I'm sorry, Kim? Oh, there you are.
Take an hour per day to explain who they are and why they do this.
Okay.
Only thing that you have in front of you that's different from last time is on page 5, under wastewater department. Very last title, we have wastewater air control specialist, but I believe you all approved.
Right, and we need to add Vicky's title change.
I've got that. And
What page is that on, though? Sorry.
which one?
Vicky's.
That would be on page 2.
And I will say, like Erica says, chief deputy, city clerk, I'll say it'll be second deputy clerk, court clerk of county. That's all it is.
Wow, you might have to email me that title.
I know.
So it's the third one down?
Yeah. I can actually
And
just,
how would you like it to read? Second deputy?
just put second deputy court clerk, because we know she
Court
does the
clerk.
accounting
Okay.
stuff of it, so we'll just put second deputy.
What if I put a slash between the two? Accountant slash...
Because she does,
Kim, when Lynn was here, they was going to do away with the position.
Well, I'm getting to that one.
Okay.
That would be on page 6, under construction.
Okay.
Third position, utility worker. There used to be 2 utility workers, and now there's 1 utility worker.
I got utility worker 1, utility worker 2.
Well, there's a utility worker 1, and there were 2 of those. Now there's 1 of those.
Oh,
And
so
then we
it's
have
already been
utility
changed.
worker 2. They're 2 different positions. We have utility worker
Right.
1 and utility worker 2.
Never mind.
He eliminated a utility worker 1 position, so
Okay.
that used to be 2 next to it. So it's already changed. Now there's only a 1. What's written there?
So it used to
It
be
gets
2.
confusing, doesn't it?
It does get
Have
confusing.
patience next time I mess it up, or...
So it used to be 2, and now it's 1.
Yes, that's correct. Now, under utility worker 2, there are still 2.
Correct.
Okay. Don't make it.
We're going to see this every day.
Probably.
Probably.
I
Okay.
have nightmares about this thing.
Nice.
Ask Vicki, I go to her, and I'm like, oh my God.
22.
22.
What's 22?
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Thank you.
Second.
Ordinance
We did, wait, are we
22.
first, second, third reading? We need a reading.
First and second.
First and second.
Can't do all.
Okay, I have a motion to pass ordinance 2013-OR22 on the first and second reading. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Mr. Merkley.
This is a rezoning matter. It comes from the Planning Commission with a favorable recommendation, reference to property located at 2640 Middle Road. It is presently classified as C1, small to medium general commercial. The Planning Commission, upon the petition and request of the property owner, Billy Price, is requesting that it go to C2, which is medium to large scale general commercial. Mr. Price is here. If you have any questions, again, this was a favorable recommendation that came out of the Planning Commission, and this is also a public hearing. So, Mr. Price, I don't know if you wanted to explain to them what your business was, or...
Yes, I can.
Yeah, why don't you...
We're wanting to rezone from C1 to C2 because we have a special exception for a small auto sales to go in there. and it states that it has to be C2 to be able to do that.
Right. And just for clarification, this is across from French Quarter Apartments. It's in the metal buildings, just in case somebody doesn't know where it's
Where
located.
exactly are you gonna, I know in there 3 rows of buildings there.
Yes, sir.
Where are you gonna do this at?
It's kind of in front of the first building, like, I guess, towards Perrin Park, that first building there.
Yeah.
There's like a empty section of the parking lot that's not used for anything.
Is it out front towards the street?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think we have it I think they said we could have like 8 cars out there at a time, with them being rotated.
I thought we said 5.
Yeah, no more at 5 at a time. It was presented to us in planning and zoning. Because it's limited space there, remember?
Right. It was
Should be
5.
spelled out, right, in the order?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
5.
do we have?
Was there a need for any other variances of any kind for this property? I mean,
Signs,
Yeah.
landscaping,
Yeah, I think it wasn't brought before planning and zoning,
Why would we tell him that he couldn't have 8 cars?
because there's not
There's
room
not
for
enough
it.
space there.
There's
but-
room for
Do you have a
5.
drawing or anything of
If that's
this?
his property, then why?
Not with me, no.
enough space on it. If he can physically get the cars there, wouldn't that be his call? Or shouldn't it be his call?
Well, you can't put it on grass. If he puts them out
Only
farther,
got
it's going to be
space
blocking the
there.
park driveway to get in.
Okay. All right.
Did the drawing show 8 cars on asphalt?
It didn't actually show.
Didn't show cars.
I
That's what
would-
he told us that night, I believe, was like he wanted 5 cars. And we said no more than 5. That's the way it was passed. And I don't know what zoning did, because I'm on the planning commission, but I don't know what zoning said.
so it looks like it was
BZA,
against
mhm.
down on Spring Street. By the railroad tracks, because about 8 or 10 cars there the other day.
Yeah, there was.
you need to tell
We were wanting a sign in front of the other building, and that was denied. They said we could put a sign on top of the sign that we already have.
On the other building,
That's not enough.
you say the other building, it's the other building away from where you're gonna put these cars?
Correct. Which I was wanting to put it in the, to the side where the cars were going to be at, but that was denied. They wanted it on top of the sign that was already there.
Okay, we don't have anything to do with that.
No, we don't.
Mm-mm.
All we're here is giving favorable recommendation or to approve
No,
this, right?
yeah, to approve the zoning.
Whose district?
You gotta approve the zoning.
First of all, you have to technically open up for public hearing.
Yeah. We have this, I would like to open this up for a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this change in zoning? I know there's not, but I've got to, have to give them a few minutes. Okay, with that, the public hearing is now closed, and then we need either a motion to approve or deny.
Make a motion to approve his request to change it from C1 to C2 zoning at 2640 Middle Road.
I'll second.
Yes, number 23. I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2013 OR 23 with the zoning change. Any other questions or comments?
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
There's nowhere in here or neither from the planning commission where it says anything about the number of cars.
Yeah, that's the only thing that
That
concerns
was in our staff report.
That was
and I
in
don't
the
have
staff
it
report, and
here.
that's in what we said, and that needs to be included in this, because that's the only reason that the planning commission approved it, was with that.
So Scott, what do we do? Or Les, no?
Those conditions are not normally placed on.
It's just part of the
So you-
minutes.
In fact, until I took this back over the consultants,
That's true.
there was never anything ever prepared like this.
That's correct.
Right.
But the minutes, the record would reflect the restrictions that are in place.
Mr. Bryce, are you okay with 5 cars?
Yes.
Okay. Because I think that's the concern here.
Right, I mean, if we grow and things work out, then
You'd need to come back
You need to come back.
I'll come back or
or move to a different location.
exactly.
I have a question. Les, maybe you know, is it any conditions or variances from the plan, does that go to the BZA, or is it just going to go through planning and zoning?
Depends on what it is.
Yeah, if it's a waiver or if it's a variance.
We're working on that.
The reason I bring that up is because the planning and zoning has made, they have the right to do a waiver. And a waiver is basically a variance, but it's a variance when they are approving a plan. The BZA has the right to approve the variances, and they see the variances after a business is already established. And there's been inconsistencies on what the BZA will do and what planning and zoning will do. So, I mean, and it doesn't seem fair that a new business or an existing business are getting judged two different ways and getting approved in two different ways. So it just seems like it should go through both processes, to be, or we're going to need to change the way that the process has been so that both new businesses and existing businesses get the same, same requirements and process before getting approved.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
You go.
Good luck.
You get on there.
Yes, I am.
Ms. Jerry.
No, because it's a repair shop up there, and there's cars and boats everywhere. I mean, that's the nature of the shop.
I'd like to request approval on first and second reading for additional appropriations. This was, resolution was passed to advertise, and it was in the newspaper on 7/6. It's for 4 items to be appropriated.
What's the number?
24.
Motion to pass 2013 OR 24 on the first and second reading.
A second.
Have a motion and second to pass ordinance 2013 OR 24 on the first and second reading. Any other questions or comments?
Is this from the general fund?
2 general and 1 non-reverting fund. Missing park non-reverting fund.
So the top two are 530,000 as you add them together are general.
Yes, correct.
We did not appropriate that money.
No.
So, okay.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public comment?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Council comment, Mr. Smith.
Quickly, my computer's down. I was going to send this forward to you, but the steering committee on the 911 consolidation, we had our second meeting, and that was July 10th. And the steering committee has put together a plan, if you will, that will be presented to all municipalities on July 24th. But basically what we've done is we broke it down into a fiscal body and an operations body to run the 911. It's just basically going to be an interlocal agreement between the municipalities, and it's really pretty simple. I sent an email all last month and kind of broke it down for you, but our follow-up meeting was a few tweaks on that, but it was the same thing. So the July 24th is going to be the meeting in which it'll be presented to all municipalities at that point. So just to follow up on that, so we are proceeding well, and I just wanted to bring you up on that. That's it.
Okay. Councilperson Zastopny?
Yeah, I just want to explain why I voted no on that, the used car lot. Planning and zoning and their code enforcement, when you make zoning changes and then you give variances for it, or you put limitations on it afterwards, 2 things happen. One is what usually happens, and this happens with signs and used cars a lot, is they put more cars out there than they should, and they put it on the grass, put it on sidewalks, obstruct traffic or obstruct pedestrian walkways, and then and today it's fine, but tomorrow he gets a great deal on another car, so now he's got 6, and then he gets a great deal on another car, and then he has 8, then he has 10, and then it's a complaint. Or the other thing that happens is that restriction never follows to the future, and that happens with signs a lot too. And that everybody's great today, yeah, I know what my restriction is only 5 cars, or I'm not going to change my sign, or I'm not going to make it flash and scroll and do all those kind of things. And then all of a sudden the new manager gets there and they go, oh my gosh, look at all the possibilities I can do with the sign. It starts flashing and scrolling. And then, again, it bothers drivers, maybe it doesn't follow the state laws as far as how often they have to change. And then code enforcement just always chasing these things down. And if you ask Shane Corbin or the previous directors that have been involved in code enforcement, just a serious headache that always comes back up. So I think the property wasn't designed for it, and that's why I voted against it. Thanks.
Councilperson Payne?
No comment.
Councilperson Gill?
That brings up, Les Merkley sent out an email a while back, and I don't follow through on licensing for businesses. Small fee, like $20 or something. I know it's going down 10th Street. We now have, I looked over and discovered we now have a new grocery store it's a grocery store, but it's all in Spanish. That's right there by the old Long John Silver. So we do have businesses that are going in that we're not aware of, so I don't know. It kind of the ball was kind of dropped on that. Some of us gave our opinions on that, but I'd like for us to kind of have the discussion on, maybe he can send out another email, maybe we can look into that, just kind of, not to control, getting more money, it's a small fee, but it lets us know what businesses are coming here to Jeff. Like in my district, there was a car lot that went in and we didn't know about it. There was wrecked cars out there. There was multiple wrecked cars that were just left out there where people were walking near the highway that could easily get hurt on, we just don't know what's coming in, which we've learned our lesson from the pill mill. I just think it's a good practice for us to be aware of the businesses that are coming in to Jeffersonville. So
I'd like to make a comment on that if that's okay.
All right.
Because, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Because we get calls all the time in our office if there's business license. And that is one of the things that, I would like to propose at some time is us collecting those fees for the business license for the city. But we get calls constantly and people coming up wanting to know. Now, I do know on that grocery store they did get a permit for that because I was there, happened to be in there that day. But that is one thing that I'm getting calls all the time. I think it would be a good way to also be able to track businesses that are coming in. And so I'd like to maybe sometime sit down with you all and discuss that.
On another note, when I was in code enforcement, we would get phone calls for the same thing I remember specifically getting a phone call from someone in Cincinnati wanting to know who this contractor was who was wanting to do work in Cincinnati and wanting to know what his business license was. I said, ma'am, we don't give out business licenses. She said, then we can't use him. So it also hurts people who might want to work in other communities that do require them. So,
and a lot of the clerks in the second-class city I've spoken with, they are the ones that do collect those, keep that information up and running, so, yeah.
Okay, and also, just to follow up, that we had that recent JNLI class, and we successfully started 2 new neighborhood associations. Wathen Heights has started theirs, and Grubbs Avenue has started one. And we've got 2 more that I just got emails this past week that they want to start one in Riverside and one in Aberdeen. So a lot of good things are coming out that start in the neighborhood, and they're getting organized, and they're doing a lot of hard work. We got a lot of new participation in National Night Out, that's August the 6th, correct?
Right.
And last one, Terry, congratulations, you finally got your Crystal Spring entrance done.
To add to them license, there's 2 things, and I've ran into it real quick, is the fact that realtors will sell these people or rent these people properties, and they don't get into the specifics. Then when somebody buys a piece of property and they get in there, all of a sudden they want to do something and they have to get variances and zoning changes, and a lot of these people don't know that ahead of time. If they come in and get a permit and they're going from one zoning to another, they know ahead of time, because these realtors will whatever it takes to sell the property.
Yeah.
And that's not being fair to the people that's buying the property. Plus, in the long term, it will, if you just charge a minimum of $25, hypothetically, they'll get that money back. They're going to save that money because they may not even locate because of the variance or zoning may not be So I think it's something we need to
Well,
look
actually,
into.
they come in to even look at that before they pay, they can find out those things.
Yeah,
Do
but
they even
you
pay
see,
for
the realtor
license?
kind of,
Right.
they want to sell or lease the property.
I mean, that wouldn't stop the realtors from doing that, because people would still look for property before they would get a business license, I would think. And
Oh,
people
no,
still
I would
not
think if I
know.
was doing a business, I would want to come and check before I ever put any money down on a property, because that could be money that you cannot get back.
You know, we could send a letter out to just the local realtors and say, here's what we're doing from now on out.
Right.
But I think it's something we need to really think, because
I agree.
if it's a minimum wage, minimum price of $25,
And it could
you're
save
going
them
to
a
save
lot of heartache.
$25.
Right.
It's the best $25 they'll spend, but something to think about.
Okay, Councilperson Glover?
Nothing.
Councilperson Julius?
The only thing I wanted to say, Thursday, we're going to have lunch again with some of the New Albany Council folks. So I know, I think it's Thursday at noon. So if anybody wants to sign up, it'd be great. We sure learn a lot.
Councilperson Samuel?
Just a comment, and not sure how to, if it asks Les to pass it on or what we need to do, but the entrances are looking, particularly 10th Street, looking horrible. The ramp, I know it's city, I mean, I know it's state, you know, the mowing and all that, but my understanding was the state said anytime we want to do it, we can do it. There, particularly, I'm thinking weed eating. There's a small strip when you go, like if you're headed to Louisville and you go around. I mean, there's weeds 4 feet tall. I mean, it looks horrible. And then also down at the behind where the Frank's Steakhouse used to be, where the drainage goes through there. That place that's got a lot of attention lately. Can we get somebody from our street or parks or somebody to mow that? I mean, it's 4 feet tall too. And before we said we couldn't because there until a plan was done or something had to be okay. Okay, and now I think it's available, and it's looking like the other. And if we got crews that can do it, it just looks horrible. And so those are my two. I don't know. Thank you.
All right, and then I hate to tell everybody this, but we're ready to start budgets for next year. It seems like we just finished. So time to go again. And so Amy's going to be getting us with a schedule, and she's got some things she has to get up to the state. But I know last year with Monica, it was a little bit different than it had been in previous years where we each met with the department heads. And I told her that I would like to go back. There are certain things you can't change. You can't change salaries. You can't change benefits. Basically, it's the other, the other items, they're big wants and stuff that we need to look at. So anyway, just to give you all a heads up.
Just to make our night brighter.
Yeah, just to make your night brighter.
Hey, I'm so happy.
Yeah, it went so well. Is there anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.